So welcome to 3 ways to use Facebook to teach workplace socialization and online safety. I'm Michelle McEwen, the founder and CEO of Digitability. Today, the majority of people with cognitive disabilities are unemployed. Between 1980 and now, jobs are requiring higher level social skills. This has increased by 83% since the 1980s. That means that 8 out of 10 jobs today in 2017 require a high level of social skills. So what do these social skills look like in the workplace? Students with disabilities need to practice working in a team and collaborating. They need to develop strategies for giving and receiving feedback and being flexible and adaptable so they can readily problem solve. Whether their struggle be with nuanced social norms, expressive communication, language pragmatics, sensory issues, anxiety, or other self-regulation issues, students with developmental disabilities can have difficulty not only sustaining functioning in the workplace, but even making it through the interview process itself. But by gaining social skills and competence and developing those necessary strategies, students with cognitive disabilities can increase their average hourly wage by 40%. So how do we build capacity to promote workplace social skills? We start with the basics by teaching boundaries, and we can use social media to do this. Because we live in a tech-driven society, social media sites like Facebook and Twitter are where we go to interact, share, and explore our own interests. Most of us have learned to use these web apps through our friends and family, our work, or by sitting down in front of a computer and exploring through an intuitive process. And then we find our existing understanding of social norms to these online networking and social sites. And some have done this better than others. Like when this person complained about their boss on Facebook and forgot that their boss was a friend. The struggle can be real. And while adults are still having a hard time with social nuances online and sometimes off, students with cognitive disabilities often require explicit instruction to distinguish appropriate behavior, both online and during their peer-to-peer socialization. So the question to start with is, are your students able to distinguish appropriate online sharing behaviors? So here's how the Digitability curriculum begins to build the foundation for safety and socialization using concepts of social media. The first step is to explicitly teach what we can share online. We can share comments, photos and videos, music that we like, or even other websites that we want people to check out. When we share something online, it's called posting. There are some things that we should never share online, like mom's credit card number, social security numbers, your home address. This type of information is called private information. But when you do post something online, it becomes public information. And we're going to look at what that means. But before we do that, we also have to talk about how nuanced social online media can be. For example, if we define it as always having your daytime clothing on, something you would wear to school or work. When we look at appropriate comments, appropriate commenting may not just be about being respectful, but for students who struggle with social pragmatics and the pragmatics of language, an appropriate comment also needs to be on topic. So we're going to look at the lesson on public information. Now in this sample lesson, The students have already learned what private information was. They've already understood the concept of posting. So this lesson is explicitly teaching what happens when something becomes public information.
What happens when I post or share on the internet? You know that when you post to a website, you are sharing with people you may not know. You know, posting on the internet lets people all over the world see what you shared. People all over the world can also share your post with others. Your post will be public information. Anyone on the internet can post a comment on public information. For example, if you post a picture on the internet, someone else can say what they think about the photo. People can also share public information. For example, if you post a photo on the internet, someone else can take your photo and post it on another website. Public information can spread very fast. Ask yourself, do I want my friends, family, and strangers to see my post? Do not post anything online unless you're comfortable with everyone seeing it. Let's review what you learned in this video. You know, anyone on the internet can post a comment on public information and share public information. You know that public information spreads very fast. You must ask yourself, do I want my friends, family, and strangers to see my post? You can replay this video or go to the activity to unlock your next badge.
So you can see this lesson was short, the language was explicit, and we broke down the concept of public information to two key concepts. We used a lot of visual graphics that are standard online, so these concepts can begin to resonate with the learner and eventually use those same graphics to generalize into other domains of socialization. So when we think about public versus private, we might consider a few questions. What happens when we share online? What is an appropriate online comment to share? And what's an appropriate photo to share? So while the lesson starts online, the supplemental materials are designed to reinforce the learning and address a measurable objective for the unit. In this unit, the measurable objective is that the student will be able to distinguish appropriate online sharing behavior. One of the activities included in the supplemental materials is a public versus private game. where students have to determine if the information is public or if it's private. Now, to demonstrate how nuanced this can be, we put together an adult version that we implement during Digitability's training and professional development workshops. So in a group, adults have to decide if the information is public and private. And some information we can quickly agree on, such as my spouse's social security number. But if we look at a topic like my political views, especially coming out of an election year, it gets a little more nuanced and personal. Or considering my religious views, or even my vacation photos. Adults will disagree on the boundaries or on what's appropriate to share. The Digitability curriculum offers a number of sample prompts for students to think about, and facilitators can create their own. And what we learn is that some of these types of information are more nuanced, and there's a conversation that surrounds them. In what scenario is this public, or with whom should this be shared? Part of what we're doing is teaching appropriate sharing behavior that involves language pragmatics. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the term, the pragmatics of language, it refers to the social language skills we use in our daily interactions with others. It includes what we say, how we say it, our body language, and if it's appropriate to the situation. Here's another sample supplemental game that's played in the Digitability curriculum. We're supplying prompts for students to comment on, and they have to decide if the comments are appropriate. So we have a video from when this was implemented in a classroom. The middle school and high school, a combination of middle school and high school students, they're using Post-its to post appropriate comments. They've learned through the Digitability system that the comments are appropriate when they're 1, respectful, and 2, on topic. After they walk around the classroom and post the comments on each of these social media prompts, either on bullying, world peace, or the image of the dog that's dressed it up, they then have to respond appropriately to their classmates' posts. And what we're really teaching here is reciprocity. We're looking at pragmatics of language, and it's also about dialogue. So these are the types of activities that can hone in on IEP goals that have to do with socialization and communication. The goal is to use these concepts in social media to enhance the generalization of the social skills. Digitability supplemental materials include these activities as a way to differentiate each lesson for a wide range of learning profiles. You'll be able to download these materials and other free Digitability resources from our archived webinar. They'll also be emailed to you. Our project-based learning model will provide a clear framework to help facilitators develop social and soft skills for the workplace while still addressing academic goals. So after we address boundaries, we then have a system that implements the reinforcers. So if we look at Unit 5, Lesson 4, Public Information, the facilitators equipped with all the resources they need to implement the lesson plan. The script itself includes language for the facilitator to use. For example, it tells the teacher to say, for participation dollar, can you tell me, if you're not sure what to do with information that you need to keep private, should you ask an adult? Or is your social security number something that you should post on the internet? Or can you tell me what public information is? As they're prompting students and students are participating, the teacher uses immediate feedback and says, great job, you've just earned $1. These materials also help the teacher differentiate her facilitation so that students with limited verbal ability or other social nuances can still be included. Through the dollar earning system, The teacher is tracking behavior and tracking participation, but the student is also learning about money and how to manage their money. So they track the dollars they've earned to increase their level of motivation, to understand that their behavior and the work they submit is linked to a reward. And by using money, it's modeling a real-world work simulated environment. Students even get issued paychecks, and they can use the money that they earn to purchase rewards, such as a preferred activity or actual items in the classroom. And for our facilitators who meet implementation goals, we have a rewards program to help them get additional items in the classroom for students to purchase. So using project-based learning to teach soft and social skills. So we often hear stories about teachers practicing interview skills in an ad hoc way with their students. But when the time comes, they end up freezing up. Building confidence and empowerment is a process, and having enough opportunities for generalization is imperative. So if we look at a project-based learning sample from the Digitability program, where students are able to create and deliver a presentation using a variety of Google applications with a professional style, we can show you the sequence of steps and how this ties back into building social skills for the workplace, as well as empowerment and confidence that can generalize into other social situations. So first, in a project-based learning format like this, students would plan their workflow, their deadlines, and the meetings that they would have to schedule with their peers. The second step may be brainstorming or assigning roles, deciding who will be completing which task for this project. They may have to do a little research using a Google search engine and finding images, videos, and content. And they'll have to decide if those images are relevant to the content that they're presenting in their presentation. Using Google Slides, they'll collaborate and draft their presentation together. And then finally, in front of the class, they'll give their presentation. And they'll then receive feedback from their classmates. And finally, based on their presentation rubric, they'll earn a certain amount of money, which they'll then have to manage into their earnings tracker and identify what bills they have to pay and how much money is left over to purchase rewards. So as students are presenting, we teach them a framework of using the sandwich approach. So after a student is done giving their presentation, students offer feedback. And they use the sandwich approach, so it might sound like this. I really liked your portfolio design. It was very organized. I would have liked to see what your blog looked like. Next time, think about including photos so we can see your awesome work. Now, feedback may vary depending on the verbal ability of students. But we have text cards and other types of prompts. Even project-based learning can be differentiated through a variety of roles and a variety of support. This develops critical thinking, the ability to comprehend an oral presentation, and allows students to practice giving structured feedback. We then help the student presenting with their auditory processing, their level of comprehension by responding to that feedback and checking for understanding. What I hear you saying is that you would like to see pictures of my blog included in my presentation. So now they know what their next steps are. Project-based learning develops a number of skill sets. It helps with executive functioning and those higher level organization skills like time and task management. It hones in on the professional communication skills needed in the workplace. It develops that flexibility and problem-solving capacity. Project management in your personal and professional life includes the time and task management, the flexibility, and the problem-solving. It's a part of the whole system. The socialization component, the peer-to-peer engagement, how we frame our feedback, how we stay on topic in a conversation, or how we relate to each other through that dialogue, and then thinking about these strategies, how we are going to develop the necessary strategies to address those impairments that I listed previously, like issues with reciprocity, anxiety, or self-regulation. So self-advocacy via social media has a lot of potential for supporting people with disabilities. They can use social media to become self-advocates by exploring their personal and professional interests and connecting with others with those same interests and sharing a little bit more about their experience and their disability. They can access information on resources, find other websites where there are many self-advocates working together on disability rights. Following topics of interest helps them connect with people who have a shared interest. This really helps with that sense of connection or feeling of inclusion, especially for a population that can be marginalized and can have increased levels of anxiety if they are not included into a social scheme or a routine. It helps them translate to professional opportunities. So especially when they're learning to showcase their work through the Digitability program through social media, they have an opportunity to show and not tell what they have created through the different activities and roles that they've played. So I want to wrap up this webinar with a quick story about one of my favorite students who is a bit more involved to show you the potential impact on a wide range of learning profiles. So we are heading creating paragraphs in the body with the P tag, which stands for paragraph. Good job. So meet Lamar. Lamar has very limited verbal ability, as you see in that video. But what he's doing in this video is learning to code HTML. Lamar has a website, a blog, and a passion for hip-hop and wrestling and other fun things in pop culture that we all like. When the vocational itinerant teacher came into my classroom to select students for programs in the Philadelphia area, he told me that Lamar would not be a candidate for the work program. I knew that this decision was based on Lamar's limited communication ability. While this man was quick to see all the things that Lamar couldn't do, Lamar was even quicker to show him the things that he could do. He showed him his blog, his website, everything that he had created. And despite Lamar's limitations, he made it very clear that he wanted to join that work program. And the man was apprehensive, but I assured him that Lamar would do a great job. So what happens on Lamar's first day? Major meltdown. He was frustrated, and he began hitting himself. And we learned that the reason for this was because he realized he wasn't going to gym class that day. So after offering some light education to the man working with Lamar, he agreed to keep Lamar in the program. He never had a temper tantrum again while at work. Once we established what the boundaries were, what the norms were, Lamar assimilated. And after getting to know Lamar, this man was his biggest fan. He returned to us humbled and extremely impressed by what Lamar was capable of doing at the job scene, and he just overall liked him as a person. Despite Lamar's communication impairment, he was super social with this man. Quote from this man, he told us, "Lamar is really an amazing person." And we agree. And this is a picture of Lamar presenting his website. It's all about hip hop. And when Lamar first came to us, he used to rock and stim for almost 90% of the day. But by engaging him in digital and social media, he slowly found a way to be expressive, to tell us about the things that he was interested in. And we structured that in a way to address other IEP goals that he was working on. So it couldn't just be all about hip hop. Tell us about the hip hop industry. What kind of jobs are available in hip hop? Can you make a website about that? So Lamar came an extremely long way. And we hope, and our goal is, for students just like Lamar to get from that experience in their education, in their classroom, working on their IEP goals, to a job setting that works for them, where they can feel empowered and they can learn to advocate for themselves. So I want to thank you all for attending this online webinar. You should be on the lookout for an email from us by the end of the week, where you'll find an archived version of this webinar, but also you'll receive the lesson plans for the video that we looked at on public information. You'll also receive those games and activities that I demoed, such as the public versus private and the Power of Words game, where they were posting comments. If you're interested in a personal demo, please ask your administrator to reach out. They can visit digitability.com/education.